Greetings. This is Bradford Donald Keller Townsend, and this is a forward research report. The topic of discussion here is unpleasant facts, disturbing truths, and what to do about it. Now, there's many successful YouTube channels and cable network, commercial television channels that tell you what you want to hear. If rioting and shouting and chanting and making flags and signs and dressing up in costumes and going up and down the street, in the capital, of your state or city, your country. If that's a pastime for you, a form of recreation and entertainment, amusement, that's okay, as long as you're not causing too much of a public nuisance. And what I mean by that is if someone who's trying to do something productive, let's say they work for the Department of Natural Resources, they're a game warden, or they take care of the grounds of the parks and in a more management capacity, and have to do the paperwork and the reports, and they need to get into their government office, and all these people are in the way, and they can't get in there to get to work. That type of thing. Or a nurse needs to get to the hospital, to take care of people, and she can't get there, or he can't get there because there's a bunch of protesters in the way, and they can't do their job. Or ambulances. Someone's had a heart attack, and the ambulance can't get through because people are in the streets and throwing flares, or just being a menace, a disturbance. So it is not just harmlessness. If you invested in a business and you're not a big, huge corporation, and you've started a bakery where you're trying to use healthy, wholesome ingredients, or even just a cafe, and because of all the protesting and turmoil, your life savings is now years of work. You're losing money because you still have to pay rent and utilities and everything, and then there's no customers to help you cover your overhead. So, that's a disturbing fact that some of these people are just out there, whether it's in England or France or Indianapolis, Indiana, protesting. It is not, a lot of times they're doing harm. They don't. That's a disturbing fact. It's a disturbing fact that you see these videos on social media, not to name one in particular because it's across them. A bunch of younger folks riding around on modified motorcycles, popping wheelies and showing their buttocks to people and things like that. That not only is it dangerous for their own personal safety, and that other people will be hurt if they go and wreck their motorcycle doing these performances. It's not a victimless thing, and they're the only ones who get hurt. Policemen, instead of doing other jobs protecting the public, are there handling their accident. Firemen may be deployed, for their nonsense accident, and not be able to respond as quickly to someone who has a real emergency, that they're kind of an innocent emergency, a fire, or a car accident, and there's innocent victims of say a drunk driver plows into something or people, and then those people need immediate attention. Well, the people that are in a wreck because they were doing some nonsense, um, and they were driving their motorcycles around, putting noxious fumes in the air. A lot of those motorcycles are horribly polluting. Then they're making people sick, goofing around on their motorcycles. And people don't like to be told that you driving your motorcycles around, popping wheelies, you're polluting the air, making people sick, and harming people, and you could get in a wreck, and you're wasting a non-renewable resource. Just grooving, driving around in a pack of 50 young people, popping wheelies and mooning people and stuff. So people don't like to hear unpleasant truths. And Bradford Donald Keller Townsend, I am not here, and the purpose of my channel is not just to tell you to parrot back what you want to hear and to flatter you. I'm trying to do the Great Commission and make this world a better place. And to make the world a better place, sometimes a friend doesn't just flatter you all the time and tell you what you want to hear. They'll tell you if your zipper's down, or you got a booger hanging out of your nose, or your tie is disheveled, or your bra straps hanging down. If you're a woman, your woman friend should tell you those things. If you're messing up, you gotta. If you're becoming an alcoholic, a friend will. It's easier just a friend to flatter you than to say, oh, you need to quit drinking so much, or you're smoking too much, you're hurting yourself. I care about you. Maybe you should try to, find some kind of a program that'll help you quit smoking tobacco, or you're smoking too much marijuana. You're not the person I used to know. You're spacey, and you don't seem to be motivated and want to do things anymore and move around. The marijuana's hurting you, which is unpopular because everybody wants to hear the upside of marijuana. They don't want to hear, I've always noticed, it seems like people who start smoking marijuana regularly, it seems to be a negative for them. I've seen it ruin a lot of talented people that had a lot of potential, and that just end up, hanging out, hiding in their attic or something on a big cushy couch or a beanbag or something, smoking marijuana, playing video games or something, instead of maybe being an astrophysicist, or being an artist and playing music and painting, or doing something, learning about ecology and the environment and being an activist or something. Instead, they're just laying around, getting intoxicated on marijuana. So, I'm not always going to tell you and flatter people with what they want to hear. I'm trying to put out on my YouTube station thoughtful knowledge gained by over 50 years of just living, spending 20 years plus studying. If you count kindergarten through college and graduate school and everything, I spent a lot of time studying. I've traveled, around the world and have that practical experience. I worked lots of different kinds of jobs and started working at a very young age, for a paycheck with taxes taken out at 13, which they let you do back then at a restaurant, as a short order cook, and running the cash register. So, I've been working a long time, and have worked, had friends who are Polynesians, blacks, Arabs, Asian, Japanese, Chinese, Vietnamese, you name it. I've been well acquainted and had intimate friendships, where I was on a sailor with the people, or I worked in construction, or worked doing scientific research, like say on geophysics with people of all different kinds, and we work long hours, and we're real passionate about what we did. They may have been from Bulgaria or Iran or somewhere like that. So I met all and had friendships and collaborated with all different kinds of people who speak all different kinds of languages, that have all different kinds of religions. And I've just had several life experiences compared to the average person because, I didn't have television available to me growing up. And so I didn't, I did all kinds of things, like building go-karts, building the first skateboards, and things like that. The first ones with precision ball bearing wheels and with urethane wheels, and researching the chemical properties of different rubbers, that would make better skateboard wheels, and having them manufactured in factories and then shipped out to us. We did this in middle school and high school. We were signing contracts with factories to manufacture skateboard trucks and wheels and gaskets and doing all that, and had advertisements in magazines and comic books trying to sell our skateboards that we'd come up with. So, instead of watching television and playing video games, we had actual businesses, where we were writing checks and had bank accounts and corporate tax numbers and all that kind of stuff. And we're shipping things all over the world, and we're talking to people and sending letters to Thailand to buy teak wood for the skateboards and stuff. So, I've got a lot to share, and what I'm saying is, in the world that we live in, there's a lot of, the polite word would be unpleasant. I think another term would be disturbing. And there's a lot of things that are going on that are disturbing and that are unpleasant to think about. But the alternative, just ignoring these issues and problems, in reality, will cause agony of infinite magnitude on billions of people if we just keep this up. So sometimes it's better to have a little bit of pain now and to make an adjustment and unpleasantness now and some soreness now and some cuts and scars and bleed a little bit now than it is just putting things off down the road when it's going to be horrifically horrible. And that's the overall trajectory that I see. The vast majority, and by that term I mean over 80-90% of the population in the wealthier, developed, mechanized countries. And it always seems like when the wealthy, mechanized countries with all their machines, when they screw up, it seems like the poor countries, the bottom, let's say 3 to 4 billion people in income and living standards, even take it on the chin harder than the people in the wealthy countries. It's like if they get a cold in the wealthy countries, then the poorer country people get a severe case of pneumonia. So I've noticed, tracking my channel, that I've getting a lot of dislikes and a lot of fewer views, and it seems like that I'll hit a certain small number of views that'll rise quickly to a small number, and then bam, it'll stop, and I'll get like 0 more views, which could be not being blaming YouTube that they're trying to keep people away from my channel. It could be the content, and I'm willing, to look in, at that fact. But I'm not going to change my approach. If anything, I'm going to double down and talk more about unpleasant topics that need to be discussed, because it might not be I might get almost no views on a video like that, and then in 2 years or 5 years it could be a huge issue, and then people are doing internet searches trying to find out why things are so horrible, uh, and then they might find it at that time. So I'm going to wrap it up now. Let's have the courage to face reality, and please become a member of the Reality Club if you're not. Thanks a lot, and have a wonderful day.